Before we jump in, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give that like button a quick jab, just a light one. Now, let me ask you this. What happens when a decades-long rivalry finally comes to rest? And you'd think the sparks would reignite one last time, wouldn't you? Well, in the final act of Cobra Kai season 6, the long anticipated rematch between Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso never happens. Shocking, right? It's hard to imagine, especially since their rivalry is what shaped both the Karate Kid movies and this show. From their first clash in that iconic All Valley tournament to years of simmering animosity, Johnny and Daniel have been like fire and ice. Yet in this last chapter, the show takes a surprising and, dare I say, brilliant um, turn. Earlier in the series, their rivalry was everything. It spilled over to their students, sparked dojo battles, and even brought new enemies into their lives. But let's face it, by the end of season 5, Johnny and Daniel had both grown up. They found themselves on the same side, teaming up against greater threats rather than duking it out themselves. Sure, they had their hiccups at the start of season 6 when running their joint dojo sparked old habits, but wisdom prevailed and their anger fizzled out. And why fight someone you've come to respect? Imagine if the finale forced them back into old patterns. It would have felt cheap, undoing all their growth. And remember, like season 5, when Johnny put aside his like no mercy motto, and like Daniel started to see like beyond his self-righteousness. His By season 6, part 3, these guys had progressed too much to trade punches just to uh, satisfy nostalgia. Uh, um, if anything, their decision to coach and support each other was a greater payoff. It was as pain. It's happens, and it's like trading a fight for a better trophy. Call it maturity karma. Um, Instead of a clash between old enemies, we saw something even more intriguing. Johnny and Daniel trained together, literally side by side, in preparation for the Sakai Tai Tai tournament. For longtime fans, it felt like watching Apollo Creed and Rocky Balboa teaming up in Rocky 3. Each learned something new from the other, breaking free of their black and white philosophies of karate morals to, you know, and now that's character growth. What By the finale, they weren't opponents; they were allies. And they, looking at their bitter clashes from the past, you could argue they'd already had enough fights, so they wouldn't really span the same kind of diet given you know, from the Halloween tussle back in the Karate Kid to intense skirmishes in Cobra Kai seasons 2 and 3, the scoreboard is dotted with wins, losses, and inconclusive draws. Another fight wasn't a necessity. It would have been a step backwards. And let's not forget one of Mr. Miyagi's timeless lessons. A heart without forgiveness endures a life worse than death. That sentiment forms the backbone of what Johnny and Daniel became by the end.
Not perfect, not the same, but was certainly better than before.
Um, Watching them grow and heal gave a deeper satisfaction than any roundhouse kick could deliver. And also, let's be honest, who knew Johnny would end up using Daniel's buttoned up wisdom while still keeping his love for fast cars and rock music intact? Uh, these two could have started a Buddy Dojo sitcom, and we'd watch every episode. And if you're still wondering why there wasn't one last punch thrown between these two, maybe this classic Kale isn't just about karate. It's about people changing, letting go, and sometimes even becoming unlikely friends. Kind of like how a bad piece of sushi can surprise you by turning out to be ridiculously delicious. Okay, maybe that's a stretch, but you get my point. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time, see by Mountain Physical.